The Lord of hosts has sworn, saying, surely as I have thought, so shall it come to pass. And as I have purposed, so shall it stand, that I will break the Assyrians in my land, and upon my mountains tread him underfoot. Them will his yoke depart from off him, and his burden depart from off their shoulders. This is the purpose, and is purpose upon the whole earth, and this is the land that is stretched, and this is the hand that is stretched out upon all the nations. For the Lord of hosts has purpose, and who shall this know? Let me stop right there. I have to stop right here. The reason I placed that there, this is the second part of Genesis. The Assyrians, God used this part right here. It was a transcendent period. Once God had changed Egypt, the Assyrian became the peoples out of hand, who was what gave Mr. Babylon, set Mr. Babylon up, spoken of in chapter 13. The black peoples. But Egypt also was the brother of them, where the Gentile, where Abraham, the seed of Abraham, spent so many years in this land. Well, the Syrian was the brother. All of these was descended out of Ham, and the Egyptian dwelled in the lower part, and the Syrian was the brother of the. These were all Nimrod the Great, and all of them were all of these brothers. But the Egyptian, which had Abraham down there, but God allowed Alexander the Great him to come and take over the Syrian Empire, which was the brother of Egypt. And done so, they swept from Egypt. If you go to Genesis chapter 14, chapter 7. Genesis chapter 7 will show you this. They came through there to try to exterminate Jesus before he was born, after they had came out of Egypt. So they slaughtered all the way from there, and the Syrian, they taken over the Syrian Empire, who had also gave the Chaldees a possession in their land. And so these were the one that became Mystery Babylon up in there. And as they became Mystery Babylon, they came in there creating a genocide for all of the people of the black race, exterminating the black race, even Egypt. In doing so, they tried to create an all-white nation in the midst of the land where Abraham was. Abraham was a black nation from the beginning. The Assyrian Empire was a black nation from the beginning. Egypt was a black nation from the beginning. They was trying to change the genetic color code in the region from a black race to a white race. This is what they've done. And so God had taken away all of that out. And this had to come in a later day during God's cleansing of that race. He had to change this all back over into a people because all of them had sinned. All of these had the white race, which was the Gentiles, in there, which became this Babylon. All of these he had cleansed out because they had trusted in the God of mythology. All of these was dealing in witchcraft, serving other gods beside God. So this is where God allowed the Syrian Empire to take over these black people because they was not serving God anyway. This is where it's going at. And they would mix in with these races during the cleansing of these nations. And at the end, as these nations would come in with mythology and democratize the whole system there, God had sent the United States in at the end to destroy all the nations of the black race. Let them know that these nations was in the white nation was not in the book of life, and he was going to call them to come in and show them their intent at the end, because they would need the crude oil at the end, and they would not serve God, but they would come in with a democratized system called the law of democracy, initiated by the nations out of Alexander the Great. This is how we came this far. This is how we came with a light race over there dominating the black race, and eventually this white race would dominate the whole world. This idea. At the end, he'll bring the United States over there, of America over there. And this is what they would do, the greatest nation on earth. He'll bring them over there, guide them over there with the crude oil, and place in them a habitat where they could dominate the world, because they would need this crude oil up here. I'm going to take and finish this here. I got about 2 more minutes on this. And, when you get done this stuff here, and your mouth gets dry and everything, it's kind of bad, You have to stop and do something else. But this is where we are at Bible prophecy. We have a defining moment, and God has purposed it. He said this, and we are at that purpose time, that time and purpose of God. But what you have to do, you have to look at all the earthquakes, the ice storms, and all of these other things that's happening among us. And then we know the part and time where we're at. Revelation chapter 4. Revelation chapter, Ezekiel chapter 1, Ezekiel chapter 10, Revelation chapter 4, where he speaks concerning the creation of and the manufacture of the space station, and who did this in space shuttle. We'll know that this world is at the edge of fulfilling all Bible prophecy. And I have to go back to the part where it revealed to us the space station and Ezekiel, the part of Ezekiel, how all these things could be. But I'm going to have to take and go through other parts of Bible prophecy and go one chapter, one page at a time and complete this. This is what I'm going to have to do. And once I do this here, and I can show you exactly where we are, but we have to go by the space shuttle. It is the end of timepiece, and the fulfillment of Bible prophecy. This is where I had to go, and I'll show it. But I don't have a few more minutes on here, and this is where I'm gonna stop at. And I've been off for a while, and I have to go back and go back where I was, because somehow if you don't do these things, get these things right, you're not gonna speak well. You're gonna have to kind of feel your way back into these things. But at first, when I first began to speak, and I had a little sickness came upon me, as if it was a laboratory sickness,